Bryce Elder has fooled us before. Is he fooling us again, or are there reasons to believe that this current hot streak can last? We'll talk about that on today's episode of Locked On Braves, so let's get into it.
You are Locked On Braves, your daily Atlanta Braves podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, welcome back to Locked On Braves, part of Locked On Sports Atlanta, where we cover your favorite Atlanta sports teams each and every day. I'm your host, Jake Mastroianni. You can follow me on social media at shortstopball. Check out the podcast there at LockedOn_Braves on X and Locked On Braves on Instagram. If you're new and you're watching this on YouTube, please do me a huge favor. Hit that subscribe button. We're getting really close to 15,000 subscribers on YouTube. You can help others find us on YouTube just by leaving a comment down below and hitting that thumbs up button. On the audio side, you can help us out there as well. That's still where we get the majority of our listeners. You can leave a 5-star review on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Let everybody else know how much you enjoy this podcast. If you do, if you don't, then don't say anything. But thank you so much for your support here of the Locked On Braves, your continued support throughout a rough season for your Atlanta Braves. Appreciate you rocking with me all year long here. It's almost over, and then we're going to get into a very entertaining offseason, I believe. But today's episode, we're going to take a look at Bryce Elder. We're going to talk about this current hot streak that he's on. Are there reasons to believe that what he's doing right now can actually stick and he can be this type of pitcher? Should he be in the starting rotation to begin next year? Does it take away the Braves' ability or need to go out and find another starting pitcher this offseason? We'll answer all those questions on today's episode. We'll also take a look around the league, talk about some of the division and wild card races, some of the leaders, both on the pitching and hitting side, and we'll set you up for this weekend series against the Astros, which I'm going to be at. So looking forward to that. But today's episode is brought to you by 5 Hour Energy. Enter for a chance to win a dream golf trip for two to any golf tournament in the USA. Visit 5hewin.com for full rules and entry. No purchase necessary, excludes the Masters tournament, and this offer ends October 31st, 2025. Bryce Elder has shown us in the past over stretches that he can be a really good pitcher, even an all-star pitcher like he was in 2023. Right now, he's starting to look like that Bryce Elder again, what we've seen over the month of August and September. Is he fooling us once again, or are there reasons to believe? I'm going to break that all down today. We're going to look at the numbers over his rough stretch from this season and his good stretch from this season and see if there are any differences to make us believe that what he's doing right now, something has fundamentally changed to lead to that success, because that's ultimately what you're looking for. We talked about it a lot with Michael Harris when I did the breakdown of him from his first half to his second half. What fundamentally, mechanically are we seeing to lead to these changes? Because that ultimately will help us determine if it's something that can stick and something that can continue. So we're going to take a look at that today, and I'll give you my thoughts and opinions on if this version of Bryce Elder is for real. And I'll answer one of our mailbag questions early, talking about should Bryce Elder be in the rotation to begin 2026. But let's start out by looking at the season-long numbers for Bryce Elder, which do not look great. 7-9 record, 5.35 ERA, 1.41 WHIP, 138 innings pitched, and 111 strikeouts. Now, if you would have told me coming into the season that with 2.5 weeks left in the year that Bryce Elder would lead the team in starts, lead the team in wins, he's tied with Schwellenbach, lead the team in innings pitched, and have the second most quality starts, I honestly don't know what I would have told you. I would have said this starting rotation must have been fantastic because everybody else is pitching well too. Or it's just a complete disaster and everybody else is injured, and that's why Bryce Elder's leading in this category. Unfortunately, it's been the latter of those two scenarios, and that's really been the story of a lot of the season. And again, the starting pitching getting injured was not why the Braves missed the postseason. They were bad before all that happened. Certainly didn't help their chances in the second half, but it just kind of goes to show you how rough it's been for the starting rotation this season and how the injuries have impacted things when Bryce Elder is tied for the lead in team wins. He is thrown the most innings pitched of any pitcher this year. He has the second most quality starts, and he leads your team in starts. Coming into this season, we would have expected maybe Bryce Elder to get, 5 to 10 starts, maybe at most 15, and he's gotten 25. So that right there tells you a lot about this season. And I think this year for Bryce Elder, it's been some very hot and cold stretches. We talk about a lot on the offensive side of things, but it's really been that case for Bryce Elder this year too. You look at his first 3 starts of the season, he gave up 12 earned runs and 15 innings pitched. And then over his next 5, he went in 6 innings in all but one of them and gave up 3 earned or less in all of them. He had a 3.10 ERA over that 5-start stretch. Then Spencer Strider comes back. He gets sent down to AAA, and Spencer Strider even commented at that time, I don't know that I'm a better pitcher than Bryce Elder right now, that he deserved getting sent down. In those 2 starts at AAA, 9 2/3 innings, 13 hits, 2 walks, 7 earned, 9 strikeouts. So not great results there at AAA. He gets called back up in June, and between June and July, he had 2 quality starts out of 9. It was a dreadful stretch, an 8.10 ERA, a whip near 2, and a 335 batting average against. I mean, it was absolutely brutal. All of you in the comment section saying Bryce Elder needs to go. He can't come back next year. And then starting in August, he turns his season around. He's had 6 quality starts out of his last 8 starts, a 3.73 ERA, just a 1.05 whip, and a 215 batting average against. Those are incredible numbers. And that ERA is inflated by the fact that he gave up 8 earned runs to the Chicago White Sox, which doesn't make sense, but the White Sox were hot at the moment offensively coming out of the break. And I think that all just kind of summarizes the frustrations of Bryce Elder, is the inconsistency, the small margin of error that we talk about all the time. Everything kind of has to go right. But you look at that inconsistency. You go back to 2023 when he was an all-star in the first half and he didn't belong in a rotation in the second half. And then 2024, starting rotation was mostly healthy in 2024, so you didn't have to use him quite as much. And when you did, it wasn't that great. And then this year, you do have to use him a lot, and you got some good stretches. You got an absolutely dreadful stretch, and you got an amazing stretch for Bryce Elder. And in the end, I think ultimately he's going to be what I've always thought he will be, and that's a back-end starter and maybe a 6th starter on a really good team. But for the Braves this year, he's your number 1 starter based on innings pitched and starts, the guy you've had to use the most. But I think at the end of the day, Bryce Elder is what he is. It's going to be a combination of really good starts and really bad starts. And at the end of the season, it's going to be a 4.5, 5 ERA type of pitcher. I just think that's what he is. But could this recent hot stretch, could it be something different? So I'm going to throw a lot of numbers at you here, so bear with me. But I'm going to look at the two stretches. The stretch in June and July when he was awful, and the stretch in August through this so far in September. And we're going to look at the numbers. And obviously he's been better, so a lot of these numbers are going to look better. But what inside of these numbers is tangible that we can look to for a reason is why he has been better? Is there something tangible in these numbers that we can look at and say, that's why Bryce Elder has been better and he can continue to do that? So let's take a look and compare these numbers. Strikeout rate, 18.3 to 18.8. So that's nearly identical strikeout rate. Walk rate, 10% to 6.4% in this good stretch. So that's the first thing that really pops out to you is fewer walks. That's definitely going to help. A 382 BABIP, that's batting average on balls in play, compared to a 252 BABIP. So you're kind of seeing a regression to the means a little bit. A 382 BABIP is, 300 is, 290, 300 is generally about on average. So during the bad stretch, you saw just incredible bad luck on balls in play. In this stretch, you're seeing pretty good. I mean, 252 is not incredibly low. It's not like he's been extremely lucky on balls in play, but it's definitely better than 382. So there's 2 things right there. Fewer walks and better luck on balls in play. Here's the other huge one. 1.9 home run per 9 and 20.9% home run to fly ball ratio compared to just a 0.53 home run per 9 and a 6.4% home run to fly ball ratio. So here's the other big thing, giving up far fewer home runs. But why? And that's what we're going to talk about here in a second. You look at the ground ball rate, it went from 45.7% to 51%. So getting the ball on the ground a little bit more. His fly ball rate, however, has gone from 28.5% to 32%. So more fly balls. But here's the key. It's this next stat. a 9.8% barrel rate to just a 2.7% barrel rate. So he's missing more barrels. Yeah, they're getting more fly balls, but off the barrel. 89.5 mile per hour average exit velocity, 89.8. So that's about the same, but 45.1% hard hit rate compared to a 37.3% hard hit rate. So the hard hit rate has gone down a lot. So you just look at those numbers there. Strikeout rate's the same, but walk rate is down. The BABIP is down. So better luck. Home runs are way down, which is great. More ground balls, more fly balls, but less barrels, which means less hard hit balls. And so those are some of the key differences. But again, you would expect that when he's pitching well. And maybe that is just a correction more to the mean. His June and July were just so bad that it's just being overly corrected now in August and September. A couple of other interesting numbers before we get into the pitch mix and why I think you're seeing these changes. We're going to take a quick break real quick, and then we'll get into those numbers here next. Time to fuel up and turn it up with 5-Hour Energy Transfusion. This grape, ginger, and lime flavored shot brings the iconic taste of a golf course favorite to a non-alcoholic boost. Perfect for sinking birdies or making great memories with friends. It's a hole-in-one for your energy game. Whether you're out on the course or just need a little extra push to power through your day, 5-Hour Energy Transfusion delivers the clubhouse flavor you love without ever leaving the green. Golf is all about good times with good people and good flavors. The grape, ginger, lime flavor of 5-Hour Energy Transfusion gives you the best parts of your clubhouse go-to without leaving the course or chasing down the bev cart. And now you can amp up the fun even more. Just buy, snap, and enter for a chance to win a dream golf trip for two to any golf tournament in the USA. Tee up that trip. Visit 5hewin.com for full rules and entry. No purchase necessary. Excludes the Master Tournament. Again, go to 5hewin.com for full rules and entry. And this ends October 31st, 2025. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel is making sure you're ready for kickoff with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Doing this ad read for a while, I don't think I've ever seen $300. FanDuel allows you to bet the way you like with player props, building a same-game parlay, or even jumping in live as the action unfolds. It makes every game more exciting, whether you're watching your team or just keeping an eye on your fantasy lineup. And it's quick, easy, a way to make those Sunday afternoons a little bit more energetic, or maybe you're getting geared up for the MLB postseason. Also, please make sure you visit FanDuel.com/playsafe for tools and resources to help you stay in control of the way you play. So, are you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. And again, you can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. Thank you, as always, making Locked On Braves your first listen of the day. Go check out Locked On MLB for your second listen of the day. The guys at MLB Game Night keeping you up to date with the biggest highlights from each and every night as the postseason races continue on. Unfortunately, the Braves won't be part of it, although they will be this weekend facing the Astros, who we'll talk about here in a moment. They're starting to lose that grip on the AL West. So make sure you subscribe to Locked On MLB as well as Locked On Braves. We'll have one more podcast for you here this week. We'll have our weekly mailbag episode. It's going to be a little bit earlier on Friday, be more on Friday morning, which is why I already sent out the tweet from LockedOn_Braves on X. Go find that tweet and respond with your question there to be answered on Friday's mailbag episode. But we're going to do it earlier because I'll be leaving Friday afternoon. I'm heading down to the ballpark. Want to catch one more game. Now, this will be a family trip, so I'll be lucky if I get to actually sit down and watch 3 innings of the game. But be glad to be back at the ballpark for one more time. Hopefully get to stick around and see some fireworks. Hopefully my kids make it that long. So looking forward to being back at the ballpark. If you're there Friday, let me know. We'd love to meet you. But that's why we'll do a little bit earlier a mailbag episode on Friday morning. Now, let's jump back into this discussion of Bryce Elder. A couple of more interesting stats I wanted to get into before we talk about the pitch mix, which is really what we're going to see. Is there a difference? And there's one thing that I think maybe could be the reason for Bryce Elder's turnaround here. But first time through the order in his bad stretch, 290. First time in his good stretch, 194. 391 to 203. 314 to 260. So again, he's pitching better. He's getting better results and numbers are going to be better, but That's always been the thing with Bryce Elder. And you see, even in his good stretch here, it goes from 194, 203, 260. So you got to be careful with Bryce Elder that third time through, but obviously getting much better results the first couple of times through in order. Batting average on ground balls, it was just 217 even in his bad stretch. It's 240 now, so it's actually higher. But here's been the difference, the fly balls. During his bad stretch, hitters hit 429 with a 1262 slugging percentage on fly balls off of Bryce Elder. And in his good stretch here, they're hitting just 106. So again, is that just some good luck, or baseball's not flying as much now as they were during the hottest parts of the summer? I don't know, but you're going from guys hitting 429 off your fast or on fly balls to 106, and they're getting more fly balls off of you. And they were slugging 1262 on fly balls against Bryce Elder in that bad stretch. Runners in scoring position, 321 with a 518 slug to 342 with a 421 slug. When he's behind in the count near in his bad stretch, they hit 304, ahead in the count 284, and then in his good stretch 216 and 200. Again, better results. You're going to see better numbers. But here comes the interesting stuff, and that is the pitch mix and usage. In his bad stretch, he was using the sinker 45.9% of the time. In his good stretch here, it's down to 43.4. His slider, he was using 36.7% of the time. Now it's down to 29.8%. Those are his two primary pitches. So what is he substituting here? The changeup was 10.2%, 2%, excuse me, and it's now 11.4%. So that one has gone up just a tick, but here's the big one. His four-seam fastball, which is his worst pitch, has gone from 7.2% up to 15.4%. So why would throwing his worst pitch more make him more effective? I'm going to talk about that here in a second. But I want to look at the rest of these numbers here. You look at Stuff Plus. I'll be honest, I don't know exactly what all goes into Stuff Plus, but it grades out the characteristics of the pitch, the movement, all of that, and it grades it out with a 100 as an average. And so obviously anything below 100, below average, same as like WRC Plus. So the Stuff Plus on his sinker was 94 in his bad stretch. The slider was 94, changeup 90, and fastball 69. So nothing above average. In his good stretch here, you look at the Stuff Plus numbers, his sinker still 90. That's actually gotten worse. The slider 98, slightly better. The changeup 91, about the same. But the fastball 74. So it's a 5-point difference. Not crazy. Here's the other telling part for me, though, the Location Plus. And again, full disclosure, don't know what all goes into Location Plus. It has to do with where you're throwing a pitch in a particular count. Is that where it's supposed to go? Location Plus in his bad stretch, 94 on his sinker, 115 on the slider, 119 on the changeup, 86 on the fastball. During his good stretch here, it's 115 on the sinker, which is much better, 109 on the slider, slightly less, but still above average, 99 on the changeup. That is worse, but still good. 109 on the fastball compared to 86 before. So again, you're seeing a trend here with this four-seam fastball. His swinging strike rate, exactly the same, 9.5% in his good stretch and his bad stretch, which is kind of crazy. His outside the zone swing rate, pretty much the same, 29.4% to 30%. His zone swing rate, pretty much the same, 47.3 to 48.3. Zone contact rate is down a little bit from 92.7 to 90.8, but all that's pretty much the same. So there's one thing, and I've already kind of alluded to it here. There's one thing that sticks out to me in these changes for Bryce Elder, from his bad stretch to his good stretch. And this is where I'm holding on to hope that it's making this much of a difference. And this is actually something I pointed out on a podcast last year when I broke down Bryce Elder and what he needs to do, or what I think he needs to do to actually be an effective pitcher. And the one thing I remember talking about is the four-seamer. Because in that video, I talked about it. If I'm a hitter, anything above the belt, I'm just spitting on. I'm not even worrying about the upper half of the strike zone because nothing's up there. The slider, it moves down. The sinker, it moves down. The changeup, it moves down. And his fastball is just flat if you ever see it. I'm not worrying about anything up. I'm just looking down, and I know it's moving down. And if everything's moving in the same direction, it's going to make it that much easier for me to sit on a pitch and know that, okay, if it's at the knees, spit on it. If it's at the belt, get ready, drop that barrel down and absolutely crush it. That's just me thinking logically as a hitter if I'm looking at Bryce Elder's stuff. And so the one thing I said in that video that could maybe help him out a little bit is if he's able to locate the four-seamer at the top of the zone. And I think that's what he's done more of in this good stretch that he has right now. Now, it is inconsistent based on the data. And I didn't look at every single start. And, I don't have all the time in the world, contrary to popular belief. But I pulled a couple of starts from his bad stretch and his good stretch. In his June 1st start, he threw 12 four-seamers. He went 5 1/3, gave up 3 earned in that one. In his June 22nd start, he threw just 4 four-seamers. He gave up 5 earned in 4 1/3 innings. In his July 3rd start, just 5 four-seamers, gave up 4 earned in 5 innings pitched. So and then one more in July 27th. These are all in his bad start. He threw just 5 four-seamers. He gave up 8 earned in 2 2/3 innings. So you're seeing right there in those 4 starts during his bad stretch, the only decent start in that stretch, he threw more four-seamers. Now, that hasn't always held true in his good stretch, though. On August 1st, he threw just 4-seamers and he gave up 2 earned in 6 2/3 innings. But on August 14th, he threw 26 four-seamers. His second most used pitch in that game, he went 7 innings, allowed just 2 earned to the Mets. But then on August 29th, he only threw 5 four-seamers against the Phillies and only allowed 1 earned run on 7 innings pitched. So it doesn't really hold true for that start. But in his most recent start, he threw 19 four-seamers and allowed just 1 earned run in 6 1/3 innings. And his induced vertical break, we've talked about that a lot with Strider. He's about where you want at 16 inches. This is yearly average. He's had some starts where it's at 17, some 14, some 15, but he's usually somewhere right around there. But I do think that in more of his good starts here, you have seen him use that four-seamer more effectively. And again, throwing it at the top of the zone. And all that's going to do to help him out is just change that eye level. So now as a hitter, you got to be conscious that there could be something in the upper quadrant that you have to watch out for, which is then going to make them their timing a little bit off on the slider down, on the sinker down. And I really think that's just one subtle change that, again, I'm hoping, because nothing else really sticks out. You see something that sticks out other than just better command, obviously throwing more strikes, walking fewer batters, giving up fewer home runs. And those are the other things that you can just see statistically. He's walking less batters. He's not giving up as many home runs. He is getting more ground balls and fewer barrels. But I think you can quantify the fewer barrels at the fact that hitters now have to respect something up in the zone. And the fastball velo has been up a tick. Not a lot, but about a mile per hour difference between that bad stretch and his good stretch. Right now, it's in his good stretch, it's at 93.2 miles per hour, is at 92.5. So it's up about a mile per hour. But again, I'm hoping, this is me just hoping, because it's the only thing really tangible that I can look at in these numbers between his good stretch and his bad stretch and say, this could be the reason for the better numbers, other than it's just he's having better luck now on balls in play. His fly balls aren't going out of the ballpark. He's not walking as many batters, which walking fewer batters is going to help, and getting more ground balls is going to help. But the legitimate, to give some legitimacy to this stretch, I have to look at a reason why he's getting fewer barrels. And the only thing that I can really see is that he's using that four-seamer a little bit more. It's having to change the eyesight of the hitter, and it's making them not, be able to sit on that slider down, to sit on that sinker down. And it's making their timing just a little bit off when they are swinging at those pitches. And it's why they're missing more barrels now, because they're having to respect that four-seamer at the top of the zone. That's all I got for you. I mean, if you got something else, let me know. But I did a lot of digging. I was, really just looking, hoping to see something in the data that really solidifies that this could be the right version of Bryce Elder. And I think we're going to get this version from time to time. Like I said, I think you give him 30 starts, he's probably going to be in a 4.5 to 5 ERA type of pitcher. And that's hopefully where he's going to land, although he's still well over 5 at the moment. But I just think that's who Bryce Elder is. And it's still, to me, just a small margin of error. But I do think being able to throw that four-seamer at the top of the zone, especially if you can get a little bit more velocity on it with some decent induced vertical break, is really just going to make that slider, which is a good pitch and has good movement on it, it's going to make that pitch even better. So hopefully that is a legitimate reason for this good stretch from Bryce Elder, and hopefully it can stay. I didn't spend a lot of time about should he start in the rotation next year. I'll do that here next. You've probably seen a million ads for hair growth products and thought, sure, like that actually works. There are so many products out there and it's hard to know which ones are actually going to do anything. That's why you should give Nutrafol a closer look. Nutrafol is the #1 dermatologist recommended hair growth supplement brand, trusted by over 1.5 million people. And it's not just hype. This is a supplement clinically tested that targets the root causes of thinning and shedding with a proactive approach. Whether you are at work, out with friends, or even just getting ready in the morning, Nutrafol gives you more confidence in your daily routine. And you can feel good about it knowing Nutrafol is NSF certified and backed by peer-reviewed studies. See thicker, stronger hair with less shedding in just 3 to 6 months with Nutrafol. And for a limited time, Nutrafol is offering Locked On MLB listeners $10 off your first month subscription and free shipping when you go to Nutrafol.com and enter promo code Locked On. Again, that is Nutrafol.com, promo code Locked On MLB. Thank you for hanging in there with me. Hope you've enjoyed this episode. Put a lot of work into this one, breaking down Bryce Elder's numbers. Hopefully you see something in there that can be more encouraging for you. This question, though, from Dustin Mount says, should we be concerned heading into the offseason of Glavine and others saying Elder is earning a spot in next year's rotation? Do you think it's the front office trying to get them to push that some? It's been mentioned on a few pregame and broadcasts. So I don't think anything's being pushed necessarily. I just think he's pitching that well, kind of similar to Waldrop. Waldrop's on a great run, great stretch, about the same time as Elder, and it's the same question. Can you keep Hurston Waldrop out of the rotation if he keeps pitching like this? Can you keep Bryce Elder out of the rotation if he keeps pitching like this? It's the same question for both guys. Waldrop obviously has options, which makes things easier, and Bryce Elder might not. There are some discrepancies. Now, Bogey of Nakahoma Nation, who always keeps track of this stuff, he put out there that Bryce Elder is going to be out of options, that he spent the exact number of days in the minor leagues this year to use up his last option. You got to be in the minors. If you start the season on the major league roster, then you have to spend 20 days in the minors to use that option. And he is right at 20 days. Now, FanGraphs had him with 2 options coming into the year. Bogey is saying that's not right, that he should have only had 1 option coming into this year, and the Braves spin it. So, I agree with Bogey here, because you look at it, he used the option in 2022 and 2024. And if Bogey's math is correct and he was down for the 20 days this year, then that's a third option. And if Bryce Elder has no options going into next year, it makes things a little bit more difficult. Now, it might be a good thing for Bryce Elder because you might have to keep him in the rotation, or might make him a better trade candidate for this offseason. He ends this season on a great stretch. He's out of options. Braves want to make some moves there to improve the quality depth. Maybe they're not buying it. They listened to this episode and they said, we're not buying it. Then maybe you look to trade him in the offseason. But definitely need to know that. And I just think we don't know for certain right now. If he does have an option left, I think it's a no-brainer. He starts next year in AAA, assuming that there's not an injury and you have to begin the year with him in the rotation. So we'll see how that all plays out. But I think no matter what he does the rest of this year, if he's back next year and he has an option, he starts the year in AAA. If he doesn't have an option, then you just see how spring training plays out and go from there. But I don't think this stretch, again, with what I just spelled out for you, there's nothing other than the four-seam fastball, which, again, throwing his best pitch more doesn't necessarily give me great feelings about this stretch being maintained. So I don't have a lot of confidence. And what I'm trying to ultimately get to and say here is I don't think this version of Bryce Elder is what we're always going to get. I think we're always going to get those inconsistencies from Bryce Elder. I'll take a look around the league really quickly. The Padres 2.5 games back, pinning their game with the Rockies tonight. So no change there. The Red Sox, Yankees still 3.5 games back. I think the Astros did lose today, but the Yankees are playing tonight. So it might be 2.5 games after tonight because the Yankees were up big. The Mariners just 1 game back of the Astros, but that's pinning their game tonight. If they were to beat the Angels on Thursday night, they would be tied as the Astros come in to face the Braves this weekend. And then in the wild card races, the Reds and Giants are now just 2 games back of the Mets, who have lost 5 in a row, maybe 6. I didn't check in on their game with the Phillies tonight, but they have really been struggling here as of late. And on hard times right now in New York. You really hate to see it for those guys, but they are they're letting that lead slip away from them there in the wild card. The Rangers are the closest to the Mariners for that last wild card spot. Maybe the Astros, as they're tied now, just 1.5 games back. They've won 4 in a row. They're idle on Thursday. The Rangers and Mets play this weekend, so 2 teams that are battling for the last postseason spot, obviously in different leagues. And the Dodgers and Giants play this weekend as well. Giants have been hot lately. Dodgers, not so much. The Phillies are up 6-4 on the Mets in the 9th inning here. So Mets in danger of losing 6 in a row and things tightening up even more in that wild card race. All right, the Braves do face the Astros this weekend. Like I said, I'll be there on Friday. Let me know if you're there. Would love to meet up on you. Fiserv saying that they'll be there on Friday, so hopefully get to run into you there. I'll probably be in the kids' corner out in left field for most of the game. The Astros have the second fewest runs scored in the second half of the season post All-Star break and 26 OPS. They've been struggling offensively. Jordan back in the second half, though, and he's the only one that's been crushing it lately in 1186 OPS over the last 2 weeks. But Altuve, 556, Correa, 712, Pena, 663, Cam Smith, 655. Their best relievers over the last 2 weeks, Braves fans will love this, Aniel De Los Santos and Craig Kimbrell. EDLS has 7 1/3 innings over the last 2 weeks, 6 hits, 2 walks, just 1 earned and 8 strikeouts. Kimbrell, 4 innings, 3 hits, has walked 6, but no earned runs and 7 strikeouts. Brian Abreu has been their closer without Josh Hader, but he's given up 8 runs in his last 5 2/3 innings, but does have 10 strikeouts. Didn't see the pitching matchups for the Astros. We know the Braves, it's going to be Waldrop, Elder, and Wentz. Likely going to be Hunter Brown on Friday, so that'll be a great pitching matchup. Hunter Brown versus Hurston Waldrop on Friday night. Wish I could be in attendance for that one. That's right, I will be. And then Framber Valdez on Saturday against Bryce Elder, who we talked about on this episode, and then Joey Wentz on Sunday. We'll see if it's his last start for the Atlanta Braves. Don't know who's throwing any of these games for the Astros, but I do think it'll be Hunter Brown and Framber in the first one, and then we'll see in the finale. A little bit of news. We talked about Brian Snitker coming back earlier this week. Then he was quoted on Thursday saying that he's still undecided, said that it goes back and forth, feels like there's unfinished business given how the season has gone. There have been days where he thought this would be his last year, but he doesn't want it to end like this. So we'll see. On the fence there with Brian Snitker. You want to hear more about that, go listen to this podcast that I did earlier this week talking about would it be so bad if he came back. I'd love to hear your thoughts and opinions on that. Without further ado, this episode of Locked On Braves, thanks to Rich, Nate the Great, Jonathan Barr, 5-Serve, Larry Day for joining me. As well as 96, Clayton, as well, McCullers, 502, Freedom. Thank you all for joining me here on today's live episode of Locked On Braves. Hope you all have a great weekend. Won't be on the postcast Friday, but I will have a mailbag episode Friday morning, and then I'll be back on the postcast with Lindsay Saturday and Sunday. So hope you all have a great weekend. Again, if you're at the game on Friday, come find me. I would love to meet up with you. But that will do it for this episode of Locked On Braves. Hit that subscribe button, hit the thumbs up button, leave me a comment down below. Make sure that you rate, review, and subscribe to the Locked On Braves podcast wherever you get your podcast, and we will talk to you next.